What would it be like to live under the rule of one of the most feared conquerors in history? Under Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire didn't just rise through brilliant strategy, it was built on a foundation of fear, obedience, and relentless war. In this video, we journey into the everyday realities of life inside this mighty empire. The harsh laws, brutal punishments, constant warfare, and the high cost of survival. Chapter 1. The Iron Law of the Yasa. Genghis Khan held his empire together through more than just military force. He enforced a strict legal code known as the Yasa. This wasn't a collection of suggestions or flexible guidelines. It was an unyielding doctrine that governed all aspects of life, from personal behavior to criminal offenses, and it demanded total obedience. The Yasa dictated severe consequences for even the most minor infractions. Stealing a sheep or borrowing a horse without permission could lead to execution. Adultery was treated just as harshly, punished by death or exile without appeal. And unlike many other legal systems, the Yasa didn't make room for personal circumstances. Friends, relatives, even trusted allies of the Khan himself, no one was above the law. The Persian historian Atta Malik Juvaini noted that Genghis Khan believed fear was essential to unity. The Yasa, according to him, was meant to inspire awe, creating a society where people obeyed not just out of respect, but from sheer terror of the consequences. It was a legal system that offered no forgiveness, and it worked. Chapter 2. Daily life on the steppes. If the laws didn't get you, the environment might. Life in the Mongol Empire wasn't just dangerous because of warfare or punishments. It was harsh by nature. The Mongols lived as nomads across the vast Central Asian steppes. Their homes, portable tents called jurs, were designed for constant mobility. Food, water, and shelter were never guaranteed. You moved to survive. Summers were scorching, winters were brutal. The people relied on livestock, with meat and milk being staples of their diet. Fresh fruits and vegetables were rare. Most food was preserved by drying or fermenting to last through the long treks and seasons. Water had to be carefully rationed, and there were no luxuries. Life was lived entirely on horseback, fast, mobile, and always on alert. Work didn't fall on men alone. Women and children worked just as hard, tending animals, setting up camp, collecting water, and foraging. Theirs was a culture of resilience. Conquests may have brought wealth to a few, but for the average Mongol, life meant enduring and adapting. There was no comfort, only survival. Chapter 3. Justice through fear. Justice in the Mongol Empire was designed to do one thing: keep order through fear. The punishments weren't just brutal, they were often public, calculated displays of power meant to discourage rebellion. Execution by beheading was common. But for more serious crimes, treason, desertion, defying the Khan's authority, punishments were far more gruesome. Offenders could be torn apart by horses, dismembered, or crushed slowly beneath heavy stones. Historical accounts, such as those from Friar John of Plano Carpini, even describe people being boiled alive or impaled, although these may have been exaggerated. Regardless of the truth behind each story, the fear they generated was real. Entire communities were punished for the acts of one. Soldiers who deserted their units could see their families executed. If a captain failed in battle, he might be killed alongside his men. If a village harbored criminals, it could be erased from the map. Sometimes criminals were spared physically, but punished psychologically. Stripped of their status and property, they were sent into exile, left to die in remote parts of the steppe. The justice system was as unyielding as it was terrifying, and it made sure people obeyed. Chapter 4. Women in the Mongol Empire. Mongol society granted women some responsibilities, but it was still deeply patriarchal, especially among the elite. Polygamy was common. Men of high status took multiple wives. The first wife was usually chosen for political alliance. The rest were often treated as property. Even senior wives with more influence in the household were still bound by strict roles. The Yasa reinforced this structure, requiring women to be obedient to their husbands and loyal to their families. Marriage was arranged. Love was irrelevant. A woman's value was determined by her ability to support the family and produce heirs. Despite playing an essential role in the nomadic lifestyle, women's voices were limited in the political and legal arenas. Their duties were immense, their burdens heavy, but their rights minimal. Chapter 5. Endless warfare. If there was one constant in the Mongol Empire, it was war. Conquest was the heartbeat of the state. Under Genghis Khan, expansion wasn't a goal, it was a mandate. Every able-bodied man was expected to fight, trained from childhood in archery, riding, and the discipline of the warrior code. The Mongol military machine grew rapidly, stretching from the Pacific to the borders of Europe. Historian Giovanni described the Mongol army as an unstoppable storm, swift, devastating, and merciless. Entire villages packed up to follow the army. Regions were depopulated to feed the needs of the next campaign. Retreat was not an option. Those who ran could be executed on the spot. And civilians lived in dread of being called to serve, unsure if they or their loved ones would ever return. The Mongol war strategy relied on overwhelming intimidation. Cities that resisted were often destroyed. Populations were massacred to send a message. For those inside the empire, staying far from front lines and avoiding attention was often the only way to survive. Chapter 6. Legacy and psychological toll. While the Mongol Empire is often remembered for its military brilliance and territorial size, the psychological burden it placed on its people is less frequently discussed, but no less significant. Living in a world governed by violence, unpredictability, and absolute rule shaped how generations of people thought, behaved, and interacted with power. Fear wasn't just a reaction to punishment, it was a way of life. People learned early to suppress dissent, to avoid drawing attention, and to obey without question. The Yasa didn't only create external control, it created internal conformity. Over time, this relentless conditioning made survival synonymous with silence and submission. Even among the elite, there was little room for vulnerability. Trust was scarce. A mistake, a wrong word, or an unfortunate association could end in disgrace or death. This climate of suspicion created a society where caution was prized above innovation and where loyalty to the Khan outweighed personal ambition or identity. For those in conquered regions, the trauma was even deeper. Entire cities had witnessed mass executions. Families were torn apart. Survivors carried memories of destruction, humiliation, and subjugation that endured for generations. Even when Mongol rule brought peace or trade, the psychological scars remained. A life of obedience and endurance. Life under Genghis Khan was not simply about loyalty. It was a test of how much a person could endure. The Mongol Empire thrived because it demanded everything: obedience, resilience, and silence in the face of brutality. Those who disobeyed paid with their lives. Those who survived did so by staying invisible. This empire reshaped the world. It created one of the largest land empires in history. But its power came at a high human cost. For millions, it was not a golden age, but an age of fear. If you found this glimpse into life under Genghis Khan eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. We'll continue to uncover the untold stories behind history's most powerful empires and the people who lived, suffered, and endured beneath their rule.